Welcome to Body Kindness, Learn and Grow.
This is a special podcast series where we help anyone just getting started with body kindness.
We're reflecting on how we have evolved since our earliest episodes. I'm Rebecca Scritchfield.
And I'm Bernie Salazar. Let's get ready to spiral up together.
Listeners, I'm so excited to share that MEND registration is open. Now, MEND is a course in radical self-acceptance with body kindness that I created with my good friend and author of Beautiful You, Rosie Molinary. This is an 8-week course that's delivered online. Rosie and I have video discussions. We have reflections and meditations. It's guided by us through an 8-week program. There is time for pausing and breaks. You can do the videos at your own pace, and it includes live interactive conversation with us, as well as access to us throughout the program so that you can ask us anything and we can offer tailored support. If you'd like to learn more about MEND, visit bodykindnessbook.com/mend. That's bodykindnessbook.com/mend. We'll see you there. Hey, Bernie, how you doing?
Becca, I'm doing great. So excited to be back here. And this is a really interesting episode. We are revisiting our very first chat together.
Yeah, just for the benefit of listeners, Bernie and I are always talking about our audience and the show. We're always asking people who write to us what they appreciate. We have surveys, and overwhelmingly, folks have said, we love the episodes with Bernie. We want to hear him every week. And
thanks.
As you know, Bernie, I'm always telling you, people want to hear you every week.
Well, thank you guys.
Alas, you have a business you're running and parenting, and also just for the format of the show of what it is now. I'm sure I could help you with something every week, but it's, we kind of need to give ourselves time for body kindness too. So it just doesn't really necessarily work out for every week. So I was in the grocery store. We were connecting over the phone, and I don't know how the idea fully came to be, but we figured it out together.
Yeah, so I had called up. I had something pretty traumatic, tragic actually happen, and I'll share more of that at another date. We're working through that. But we landed on the need to just kind of revisit what we've done, how far I feel I've come in my body kindness journey. And you had suggested, hey, let's talk about where we started and where you're at now, and let's share that with the listeners. And it's something that I know I needed to do, and that's what this is going to be. I'm excited. It's something that to be able to see the evolution, to see where I've come and know the hard work that I've put in to being kinder to myself, it's just much needed.
Yeah. Yeah. And also the work that we are both still doing, so it's also very interesting that when you first launch a podcast and you have no idea what is going to happen, but back to context for this. So this episode that we're queuing up for today, you will be hearing a slightly edited version where we're basically just taking out offers that are no longer relevant and things that date it, but we share research or things that are still relevant. I've left that in there, but we've kind of cleaned and tightened up the episode for your listen. So you're literally going to get the episode to hear straight through. And so this first one, Turning Over a New Leaf, was really about us reconnecting after we did not talk for years, and you were on The Biggest Loser and off The Biggest Loser. And I was trying to introduce body kindness to you. I was actually still writing the book. So this came out in January 2016. The manuscript was still in progress. So I finished that in May 2016. And then the book was out a whole year after the podcast began. So for listener context, just kind of keep that in mind. Like when we first started talking about this, I was still working on the book that hopefully by now you have in your hands or will soon after getting some help from these podcast episodes. But what we realized is now we have a ton more listeners, which is awesome. And it's not really easy to kind of go back to the original episodes and get what you need to get out of them. And then, like you said earlier, that so much has changed in your life that you want to be able to share back on how you have personally learned and grown.
I just know that at this time, I needed this. I was searching for something that was different. My body and my mind and my soul was looking for something that was kinder. I was in a very lost place when it came to what I felt health was and should be. And I remember hopping on that call where you were saying, oh, I'm going to do a podcast. It's about body kindness, me not even knowing what that was, but understanding that anything that included the word kind in it was something that I needed. I was becoming a new father, and I knew that I couldn't carry this weight, and I'm not talking about the physical, with me into fatherhood. And it just showed up at the right time. And I'm hoping that our listeners, no matter where you're at right now, understand that it's always a good time to be kind to yourself. So I'm excited that we're revisiting this, and I'm excited to share about where I'm at now, the good, the bad, and the ugly. Because I think that everybody, well, that's just it. Like, I think that this is not going to be one of those episodes. I'm sorry to disappoint, Rebecca. I know you're not going to be disappointed, but I am not perfect in my practicing of body kindness, but I am kinder about my shortcomings. And I can honestly say my quality of life has improved. Yeah. So that's what this is about.
Yeah,
today.
No, I think it's great. And I think our hope is, so this is the initial in the series. So we have a different title and openings so that they are easily labeled for you. And you will notice a release of about every other week. We hope we can wholeheartedly stick to that, but we do have schedules to accommodate. Sometimes life gets in the way, but what you should expect until we get through the first year of episodes where we find there's really helpful content, which I imagine will be all of them, but we will offer a show that's going to release with the unique opening and then just a brief tease about when the show was originally out, what we discussed in the show. But what you're really going to want to do is stick around for after the show, because that's when Bernie and I are going to come back and offer a reflection on where we're at now, how we have learned and grown, what you can do no matter where you're at right now. So in a way that hopefully what you get out of this is a lot of connection and compassion and empathy, that it's okay to be where you are. I know when we get letters of appreciation for your episodes, Bernie, so much of it has to do with people saying, I finally feel like I'm not alone and I feel heard. And even, do you remember that one letter that we got? It was like, no offense to Rebecca, because I appreciate you, but it's nice to not be lectured at from an expert. It's nice to have this collaborative conversation between you and Bernie.
Well, I'll tell you what, I honestly am asking you to stick around till the end. The reflections that I have on these episodes based on hearing them again has been so helpful and insightful to me. I've come to realize just how much I've evolved, but I've also come to realize how much I enjoy the show, how much I love the listeners, and you're not alone. You are not alone. And I need for you to hear that, because that's what I felt. That's where I was. And having the pleasure and honor of speaking with you, the listener, and sharing where I was, where I am, that's what gets me through my journey. And I hope in some way it contributes to yours, wherever you're at.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so to just let you guys know some of the things that we're going to be talking about in this episode, I do bring up health at every size. But Bernie, I think that kind of, at the time we were talking, I don't even know if you even heard of health at every size before, because when I re-listened to the show, it was like it went over your head, I think.
Oh yeah, way over. I'm a short guy, so a lot of things go over. But this definitely did. You had asked me some very probing questions. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, let me be honest. Everything was a lot more PC back then. Like, I got some stuff to share. I really do. And I'm cool with admitting that. Yeah. And I'm cool with admitting that I still don't know what every leg of this journey looks like. And I think back then I was more like, keep up with Rebecca, keep up with Rebecca. And the truth is, no one can keep up with Rebecca when it comes to this topic. And I'm cool with that, because my little fumbles and stumbles are what have made my journey that much more helpful to me.
Yeah, that's so funny to hear you say that. But I mean, in all honesty, I think you being yourself is exactly what is needed versus performing wisdom or performing, any sort
The one
of.
thing that I know I can do is be honest with what I've experienced. And I've experienced a lot when it comes to health or weight loss or what this should be or where you should be or all the highs and the lows I've experienced. And I can honestly say that I'm digging just being more in touch with myself and not beating myself up for looking a certain way or acting a certain way or going to the gym religiously or eating organically grown nuts from Ecuador. I can't. And that's where I was. I think that at that point in my life, I was just knowing that I was failing in my mind on all fronts.
Yeah.
And that had led me to a very sad place.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and the other thing that I think is important for people to know who are going to tune in just context wise, because this has been over a couple years since we originally published, but you on this first episode used the words unhealthy weight. And I start to talk about the ideas of putting weight loss on the back burner and focusing on habits and not weight. But again, there's lots of people who come to Body Kindness. Even today, this could be the first episode you are tuning into. And that may be your belief or what you've heard from your doctor or what you've heard your entire life. And so, we're trying to keep as much of the original episode in there so you can hear about where Bernie was exactly, and then you get the benefit of our reflection. And like he was saying, it's not supposed to be perfect. We are human beings. It's supposed to be how Bernie and I can experience I think, collaborative joy of learning and growing together again, and also acknowledging where there are places where we're still putting effort, but maybe the context and nuance of how that effort has changed.
Absolutely. I think we should get going. Let's get started.
Because the health and fitness world can get a little crazy, it's time for Body Kindness. Today, we're talking about starting fresh and turning over a new leaf and creating a wellness vision for yourself so you can build habits that last and a healthy, happy life you love. Hello, and welcome to Body Kindness, where happiness and health begin by being good to yourself. I'm your host, Rebecca Scritchfield. And I'm really excited. It's my very first podcast, and I have a good friend of mine, Bernie Salazar. Hi, Bernie.
Hey, how are you, Becca? Good to see you.
Good to see you, too. It's been a while. We've lost touch in the last few years, but we're back and reconnected. What's been going on with you?
It's been quite the journey. You and I met after my time on The Biggest Loser. We had done some talks together. We had traveled quite a bit, spread awesome messages. Since then, I have actually settled back into the reality, of what it's like to be healthy out here. And I'm not going to lie to you, Becca, it's been a challenge. It's been a huge challenge. And just so you know, I am a brand new dad. New dad, beautiful baby girl.
Congrats.
And, my gosh. So to go back to what I was saying before, I feel completely lost when it comes to health and this beautiful new responsibility that I have. So I am here to pick your brain.
Okay, well, my brain is available for the picking, but let me ask you a question. I mean, you were on The Biggest Loser, so why are you lost? What happened?
It's one thing, Rebecca, to be able to do it on national television, when you have prize money up for grabs, when you have literally someone who's competing next to you and pushing you in a way that maybe you wouldn't otherwise be able to do on your own. But you come home and let me tell you, you walk into your door and it's crickets, and it's looking for that motivation. It's looking to see, well, what is at the end of this journey? And, the transformation on the show happens so quick that you fail sometimes to really start unpacking what exactly happened and why you even wanted to start that health journey in the first place. So that's been a real challenge ever since I've left the show. And I know that I'm not alone in this. And I know that there's plenty of people listening right now, Rebecca, who, have done it on their own or maybe done it with a group where you just got to a healthier place. And once you're there, we tend to have this feeling of, oh, I've reached this finish line. and then we slowly start reverting back into our old habits. So that's kind of what happened.
Okay, so that's what has been going on. Then you've been kind of, you went on the show. You haven't said yet, right? You won, like you were an at-home winner. So share that so people really get.
See, I absolutely adore you, and let me tell you why. You're pulling things out of me, and I know that you can sense this kind of hesitation in my voice because, yeah, I was the at-home winner. Lost 130 pounds, brought home $100,000. Confetti fell, the lights went up high, and then the lights shut off, Rebecca. They shut off when I came home, and it's funny because from time to time I still do get noticed, and I'll tell you what, the fans of The Biggest Loser couldn't be just more incredibly wonderful people. But now I find myself kind of saying, no, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. And that's why I thought it was so important when you approached me about this show to really start sharing my story for real. Because I love your approach to health, period. I love it. It's all about kindness. It's all about really looking into who we are and why we want to achieve a healthier style of living, as opposed to numbers on a scale or even fitting into, the latest fashion, which, if it's skinny jeans or this or that, let's face it, even if I have skinny jeans on, I look far from skinny.
Well, you talked about my approach, and I think that's a good opportunity to kind of, talk about what body kindness is. And I definitely want to get more back into where you're at. I'm here for you. I'm always going to be willing to help. And frankly, I'm always helping myself too. Like I always tell my clients, I'm a health in progress too. I don't call it work, because it's actually fun taking care of yourself if you follow the right approach. And my philosophy and approach has taken a dramatic turn in my life. I was a legitimate card-carrying member, president of the Diet of the Month Club. And even as a professional, I was going on and off diets, trying everything and anything. And really what I realize now is that I was so focused on my body and my appearance. I did this with clients. It was body and appearance focused too. I thought I was really helping them losing weight. I thought that was my job and what it was all about. And, through my own struggles with just realizing it didn't matter if I was up in weight or down in weight, I still criticize myself through taking all the different supplements and diet pills that, really did nothing for me, made my self-esteem worse, not better. All this started for me as a teenager. And, I know, I've told you this personally, but it was like, it took me realizing when my mom almost died, driving her car, almost, killing herself and others on the highway. She had a heart attack, and she was, the founder of the Dieter of the Month Club, Exactly. So I was looking at this from, wow, her health is in shambles. And, she dieted, I'm dieting. This is what I'm doing for clients. I really didn't keep clients for very long because, when they left, they felt they failed and, felt shame and would walk away or, and it just, the light bulbs went off. I was like, I really need to take a critical look at dieting. And I even think that has evolved becoming a mom myself. And I'm sure you can relate as a new dad.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
We got to be a good model for our kids too.
Well, and that's just it. I truly appreciate your approach to what it is to be healthy. So I know there's people out there listening. I see you. Even though I don't see you, I see you. I feel you. If you're listening to this podcast because of how amazing a dietitian Rebecca is, and you're planning on losing weight, like this is a weight loss show, Rebecca, can you clarify for our listeners? Is this a weight loss show?
Well, I'm going to say no because I am a big supporter of the movement and philosophy and approach of health at every size. And I will share that link in the show notes. But if you look at the principles, it really is about respecting size diversity and different weights and shapes. And actually what we know about size discrimination is it's pretty prevalent in the United States, and there's good researchers who are studying weight stigma, and that the more you pressure a person to make a person feel bad about their weight, the less likely they are to engage in healthful behaviors anyway.
See, and I don't mean to cut you off, but that's what I wanted to hear, because when you asked me to do this show, that was one of my big concerns. I remember you calling me up, "Hey, Bernie, I'm going to do this podcast. I really want you to be a part of it, and that I respect you so much, just on a personal and professional level." And I was like, "Okay, but let me let you know where I'm at. I'm not that guy that was on the stage with the confetti falling anymore. This is Bernie in reality, and that's what I wanted to make sure I wasn't getting into, people, was another weight loss show. You're inundated with weight loss shows, so that when Rebecca said, no, this is really about body kindness. This is about figuring out and finding your motivation for why you want to live healthier. I was like, sign me up. Let's do this. That's what I'm about. And I want to make sure that everybody out there understands that as well. Now, I know, and I'm pretty sure, Becca, you can say otherwise, but if you're looking for a weight loss show, I know that everything that you've shared with me has led to living healthier, which, if you are living life maybe at an unhealthy weight, you're going to see that change if you start to incorporate what we're talking about. But I know that that's personally why I didn't sign on for this. So I'm glad that's cleared up.
Well, this is how I would clarify it. And it sounds like you're already at that place, and I want to get back to you right after we get clarity on this. But it's really not my job to tell people their individual goals. That's up to a person. It's your body, your autonomy, and what you want your goals to be. But I would ask listeners, if you have weight concerns, but you want your health to be about more than weight or shape, maybe you're frustrated. Maybe you're just looking to be happier and healthier, but you still want to lose weight. Keep an open mind. Do your best to be nice to yourself and look at the bigger picture. I would really, really encourage you not to follow a diet plan, but to focus on your habits, which is what I hope, Bernie, you and I can work on together. We'll get more into that. But if you put weight loss on the back burner, it opens up your mind to focus on other areas of health and self-improvement. You can be more kind and compassionate to yourself, because you have human DNA. You will make mistakes, and it's all about getting back up on the horse again and again. If you focus on your habits and your happiness, they go hand in hand. And I just think with it being a new year, it's the perfect time to just change the way you see things, shift your approach. If you lose weight through this journey, it's a side effect of changing habits. And as you said earlier, that's kind of the problem where you're at right now. If I understand it, you're not at a weight that you think is good for your natural body, but you also saw your habits go from, it sounds like extreme, like extremely bad, extremely good, extremely bad, and maybe even the extremely good was extremely bad.
Oh, absolutely.
Why don't you talk to me about you?
It was like the roller coaster of chub instead of love. Like, it's roller coaster of chub. That's what I'm going through. But being that it's New Year, Rebecca, and being that I have this beautiful little life in front of me, I want to make sure that I am setting a great example that keeps her away from potential body image issues, but also I want to impart with her what it means to live an active and full life. And where I'm at right now, I don't feel that I'm that example just yet. But don't get me wrong, this isn't all, doom and gloom. I'm not here, to completely do a woe is me thing. I'm here to let you know that I've been on every side of this, every side. I have a closet full of different pant sizes to prove it. What I'm trying to say is, it comes a time that you just need to figure out what health means to you, and especially how to get there by being kinder to yourself. Now, I mean that, and one thing that I remember very vividly. We did a lot of talks together, Rebecca, and a lot of people would come up to us and just, share their stories, and also compliment maybe me on my journey and my experience on the show, I don't remember one of those compliments. I don't remember one of them. I don't remember a lot of the conversations I had, those really beautiful, positive moments. And it's not because they weren't meaningful to me at that point in that time. It's just that I feel that we as human beings tend to always focus on the negative. That being said, I do remember seeing kind of a bully online. And this particular person was angry at me for some reason, Lord knows why, but he had literally done a little video, uploaded it to YouTube, and at the end of it and says, "Hey Bernie, why don't you do us all a favor and just get fat again?" And that was one comment out of the thousands, literally thousands that I was so blessed to meet so many beautiful people and wonderful, genuine people. And it kills me that one comment stood out and none of the beautiful, wonderful, encouraging, motivational, loving comments stayed. And that's why, being that it's a new year, Becca, I want to make sure that me as a new father, and the listeners out there, maybe let's try to figure out how we can harness those good things in our lives and hold on to that, as opposed to let the negative ones weigh us down, because that's a lot heavier than any weight you're going to carry on your body.
Yeah. And does that still affect you now, or have you been able to like let go of that? Because people judge people all the time. I wish we live in a society where fat wasn't a bad word. Yeah. But clearly there was something in, he said, that hurt you as if gaining weight would be a bad thing.
Oh, absolutely. It's so funny that you looked at it that way, because you know what, that's a new way of looking at it that I hadn't thought about before. But obviously I still think about it, and I hate to give that person power. And I hate to give his words power. But again, if I'm bringing it up, this has been 7 years since my experience. And the reason why I bring it up isn't, again, to draw attention to this individual, but it's to make sure that our listeners out there are on those listeners out there that are on your journey. Let's start being kinder. Let's start being kinder to ourselves so that we can continue living a healthier life without these types of negative feelings.
Let me ask you a question. Do you love yourself?
Good question. And if you, wow, that's pretty powerful. I do. And it's funny how I've answered that. You can tell everything just from the tone of my voice. And I think that I'm going to go ahead and just throw it at our audience for a minute. I'm going to ask them the same question, and then I'll get back to me, Becca. How about that? I'd like to ask our listeners out there to think about what Rebecca just said. Do you love yourself? Wow. I do. I'm not always happy with myself. I'm not always proud of some of the decisions that I make, but I do love myself. But like in love, it depends what time of day you catch me.
Well, yeah, that is. There's a real reason why I asked. Love is one of our top in the top 10 emotions that we feel. And it's a very, very, very powerful emotion. And we know it, when we feel love between other people we care about. But we don't often take enough time to think about our relationship with ourselves. And we can say that we love ourselves, but that we don't necessarily treat ourselves in a way that is loving. And love is the foundation of body kindness. And it is crucial. So if your choices come from a place of love, then you're practicing body kindness. The other pillar is connection. So we're going to start setting some goals to carry on, and we'll get into the importance of connecting to your body, basically. So when you love yourself, you're willing to connect to it. You're willing to forge an alliance there between knowing when you should eat, how much, and things like that. And then the third part is caring. And the caring is in the choices you make. And it's realizing that there is no perfect way to be. There's no right or wrong. It's all about being the kind of person you want to be and learning how to like the person you're becoming through daily choices that add up. And I submit that when you focus on something that makes you feel good, that it leads to more positive feelings and energy, and it keeps you going. And then before you know it, you're off to the races, being consistent with your choices, which then leads to the better habits. So,
I couldn't agree more. I know that our listeners can't see me, but I'm definitely shaking my head here. And I being that it's a new year, Rebecca, I'm asking, of our listeners, to join me on this journey, whatever it means to them to be healthy. I want us to do this together. If there's someone that you care about, share this link with them, share this story with them, ask them that question that Rebecca just asked me. And I think you'd be surprised to see the response that you get, because I was very surprised to be asked it right now. You caught me completely off guard. But at the same time, it was a question that needed to be asked. So, yeah, let's do this. Let's do this. Everybody out there, let's do this.
well, why don't you share a little bit more about if we're going down the road of habits, and we'll just kind of go through some of the key things. So starting with food, is there, anything around food that you are looking in this new year to try to enhance or improve or grow around food and your food choices?
So this new year, being that I have, gosh, I'm just so in love with this child. Being that I have this beautiful baby in my life, I want to make sure that it's not so much about, being afraid or giving negative power to a particular food, but I would just like the quality and the type of my food to improve. Whether it's going to farmers markets, eating more local, more organic, or just getting more fruits and veggies on my plate. I'm going to start there. I'm not, whether they come out of a can or not, Rebecca, at this point, it's so much better than what I'm doing right now. So that's where I'm going to start. Let's just start by making my plate reflect the person that I want to be.
Okay. Yeah, I think doing a balanced plate is a really great idea. And I have examples of that in the Feel Great Guide, which you can get at my website. It's RebeccaScritchfield.com, and that'll be in the show notes too. And it's a free guide, and that covers food, fitness, sleep, even kindness. So all these different elements that will help give you energy and make you feel healthier and happier just through choices you make each day. And thankfully, no dieting required. But
Rebecca, I had one more thing. I thought it was really interesting. Just the fact that there's so many different types of weight loss shows out there. There's so many different type of healthy this or healthy that. I'm going to give a ton of credit to our listeners because I know that you out there can at least rattle off 2 or 3 or 4, 10 diets out there or new trends that are happening. But the thing that really drew me to this, being a part of this podcast was, and I know we talked about it, but I want to bring it back up, was just that kindness issue, because I believe that it was that lack of being not only kind to myself, but truly engaging in kind acts outside of myself that have contributed to me being so off kilter with where I want to be health wise. And again, it was such an experience on that show. And it was such an experience afterwards trying to maintain this image of who I was, when in reality, I had never really gotten to know who that new healthy Bernie was, because it happened so quickly. When you go through that type of crazy up and down, you never have time to internalize exactly what health looks like in your real life, incorporating into your health journey.
Well, It's interesting. I heard you say, you'll have to listen to playback, but I heard you say it. You said, coming off the show, you were having difficulty adjusting to who the new healthy Bernie was. But you started out in this podcast talking about how you're not where you want to be. So do you think that the Bernie who won was truly a healthy Bernie?
I do not. And it's not for the reasons that our listeners might be thinking. Oh, he was on this show and oh, he did this and he tried to get down to the lowest weight. You know, I can honestly say that my experience on The Biggest Loser was a great experience. The people that I was with during my season, we did our very best to do it in a safe way. You know, we challenged ourselves because why not? You know, it was a game, a reality show to be played, but I can say that we did it in a responsible way for the most part, you know, other than, hey, let's do a couple extra miles on a treadmill when we're tired. Okay. But, you know, yes, of course I talked about, weight and that I'm not where I want to be. Was I the healthiest at the end of that? No, but, at the end of that show, there was a time in between where you and I were doing a lot of work where I just felt so empowered. I felt so empowered because I had, at that moment in time, really figured out what health looked like for me. I was participating in a lot of, you and I, we ran Chicago Marathon together. Guys, she blew me out of the water, but I was there. I was there. So when I say together, I mean, we were there together amid 35, 40, 50,000 people. We were there. But I felt really powerful at that time. And it was a beautiful power that I was feeling because I for once in my life, felt like if I wanted to be a part of something, I could be a part of something that my size or my inability to keep up wasn't limiting me. So was I my healthiest at the end of the show? No. Have I felt what it means for me to be at my healthiest? Yes. Am I there now? No. Can I get there again? Heck yeah. And that's why I'm here, because I want to make sure that I'm sharing my journey, that I'm hopefully linking it up to the expertise that Rebecca brings to the table so that we can all do this together.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've just articulated key ingredients that we need for behavior change. And you need to have hope and confidence because that really fuels an internal motivation. And you know, we're really only learning what we know about motivation the last 8 years or so. And the two models have always been about, oh, do we do the carrot or the stick approach, you know? And the carrot, you know, look at what you get if you just make these changes. Or the stick, hurry up and make those changes.
Exactly.
It turns out that it's not external motivation at all that works. It's actually internal motivation. So you sound ready and excited to connect the dots and be curious about who you are now and who you want to become. And I don't think your weight defines your health at all. I would prefer to just keep it irrelevant and really focus on the voice inside your head, how you talk to yourself, how you treat yourself with your actions, because it absolutely affects your ability to take care of yourself and be there for your wife, be there for your daughter. It affects everything. And that is really where we all need to take an honest look about what we've gotten in the habit of doing and challenge ourselves. If it's not body kindness, we need to rethink the choice.
I agree. I love it. I love it, and that's what I want to make sure that everybody out there is doing as well. I think the thing that I'm most excited about, Rebecca, is at this point in my life, having been removed from the show, knowing what it's like every step of the way, I'm excited about the ability now for me to ask the right questions, period. I know it sounds crazy, but I'm happy about knowing what some of the questions are, you know, and a lot of those questions I personalize now. So you out there, you know, if you're participating in the Drop Challenge, if you're not, get signed up and let's start really having some meaningful conversations about this.
Well, I'm excited. I'm not letting you fully off the hook yet without setting some vision. We promise that. So I'm going to ask you to think about this more, and but kind of on the spot, I'm going to ask you to complete this sentence. I want to be the kind of person who.
Oh boy, that's a good one. I want to be the kind of person who my daughter wants to take to show and tell.
Ah, so you want people to like you.
And no, see, and I love that you continue to pry into that response, because that was definitely off the cuff. But what I mean by that is, I want to be the type of person that she is just so excited to share. And what I mean by that is, nothing to do with the physical. And I'm not trying to be one of these DILFs. What I'm hoping is that what I share with her and what I impart with her throughout this journey that we're going to get to share together, she understands that I've practiced what I've preached. Okay. To be a true role model for her. So that's what I mean. It was such your questions are killing me here, Rebecca.
Well, that is just one simple way where you can really start to articulate a direction for your values and your goals. There ain't nothing wrong with wanting to be, loved by your daughter. And you will be as a mom of two. I know exactly what that's like, in your sleepless nights having newborn. Yeah. Yeah, but that all will come, as your daughter actually gets the lights are on, looks like the lights are on and nobody's home in the beginning, but, she'll interact more and more, and you will definitely feel that love. I think that she will love you if you are just true to yourself and setting that example. What I would challenge you to do between this show and next week's show, two things. I really want you to come back with some specific goals that you want to hold yourself accountable to. Less the type of goals like what you want to eliminate and avoid, and, nothing really negative, but something that is specific and concrete. I know you just got the Feel Great guide and are working your way through that. So there's some tips in there. You talked earlier about the balanced plate. I think that's a great idea. But really kind of try to bring, what might you want to try for exercise? And we'll talk more in the future about sleep and, because it all works together. When your sleep is off, your appetite's off, and all that stuff.
Tell me about it.
So I think those would be some good things to bring back to the next week, so we can kind of check in on specifically what we're working on. I just want to say thank you very much for being part of this. And, I'm definitely going to be working on myself as well. And hopefully we can kind of all get in this together and really just, still we want to be healthy. Nobody's questioning that. It is definitely about health, but too much in our society, our health is solely focused on our appearance, our weight and shape, or how intense our workout was, or how extreme things are. And I just don't think that is a healthy long-term view. And I think that what you're going through in your own roller coaster ride is a good example of that. And you're not alone. You happen to have your story on display because you were on a super globally successful reality TV show and you were the at-home winner. Mm-hmm. And so you have an extra vulnerability, but you're not alone. I see this with clients all the time, friends, and I know you've told me that people have also shared struggles that are similar. So this is about really carving a new direction and focusing on our habits that stick and just letting our weight be the side effect of the habits and, being nice to ourselves for a change. Well, welcome back, listeners. We are in the reflection portion. I've got Bernie here with me.
Hey, everybody.
So, Bernie, this is so interesting to re-listen again and process together. I wanted to dive in and just call out one thing that I noticed 2 years later was that it felt like you were carrying a lot of body shame into the space, specifically using some self-deprecating language. I remember you said something like I'm far from skinny when I wear skinny jeans. And you brought up about what you remember what people say to you, and you were acknowledging some shaming comments that you received online. And when I listen to that now, I'm like, no doubt about it. I wish I would have called it out for you day one, but no doubt about it. You were a victim of fat bigotry, which is pervasive, which harms our health and well-being, which needs to go away in our culture. And so I'm just curious if you could let us know where you really were at. Have you processed the fat bigotry? Just kind of let us know where you stand.
Yeah, I mean, I think you are very correct in calling that out. I know that, and I've shared this before on other podcasts, I hid behind a lot of humor. So if someone was going to say something insulting or hurtful, I was going to make sure that I said it first and that I upped it so that every aspect of that joke was covered. And I realize that now hearing it, and that's something that when you are told or made fun of, or that's part of what you hear on a daily basis from the moment that you're a young child, just kind of becomes ingrained in you. And I think that our work together has really showed me that that's not acceptable. That's not okay, that it has been harmful in my life. And I know that there are listeners out there who this is just kind of commonplace. Like they think it's okay for someone to fat shame them or to have this prejudice against their body. I know it affected me.
Mm-hmm.
It affected my daily life. It affected the way that I thought about myself. It affected my self-confidence. I wasn't ever going to admit that. Sometimes you just don't even know. You don't even know the impact that the words and the looks have on who you are as a person. But they definitely did for me. And mine were almost amplified because of my experience on the show. So I was this person who had lived life larger, then went on a show, got smaller, then got larger. And even if eyes weren't on me, I felt like they were on me. Or a lot of times they actually were on me. So, to address just what you brought up, yeah, I definitely was stuck on how can I talk about where I am weight-wise and justify it to others instead of actually come to a place where I was accepting and loving of myself for all the things that my body was.
Mm-hmm. Well, and just even with this, I mean, at the time, you being on season 5 of The Biggest Loser, it was in its heyday of
13,
popularity.
14, yeah, exactly.
I mean, I remember speaking with you, like literally people would notice him when we were at the airport together, and I'd be like, oh my gosh, I'm with a famous person. But what I see with that is like you actually had, which a lot of people experience who have dealt with weight cycling, going on and off diets, is that the culture reinforcing your worthiness being tied to your weight.
Oh my gosh, I'm so glad you brought that up. Like, absolutely. So I was recognized because I was on this show and because I had lost this weight. And when that started changing, my whole being just went into panic mode. And as the weight piled on, I got more depressed and more buried underneath what I was at the time considered a failure, for just never mind the fact that I had healthy relationships in my life with family and friends and significant other. I had just finished up grad school. I mean, everything was tied to the outward appearance when I know that I had worked so hard to develop other aspects of who I was as a person. And when you're constantly being complimented on that, you forget about all the other wonderful things and qualities that you possess and that you've worked hard to achieve. That's really observant. I remember even saying in this episode how I had received hundreds of wonderful, meaningful compliments from people. Hey, I saw your journey. It spoke to me. And I sadly would kind of have my eyes glaze over. And what I would hear instead was, oh my gosh, you got to get another workout in. Why did you eat that? Like it went towards, yeah, you're thinking that, but I'm failing. And that's not going to be the case for long if I continue to have these bad habits then all this is going to go away. What I did talk about in this episode was how I focused on one negative comment that some jerk posted about, I hope you get fat again. Mm-hmm. And hearing that was so saddening to me because, man, did I miss out on a lot of opportunities to just be present and to connect and to learn to accept a compliment. And that's where I feel I've made a lot of headway today. And it's not easy. It wasn't easy for me to open up myself to positivity from other people first, and then gradually, and I'm still working on it, to saying and accepting and believing the positive things that I say to myself. So any listener out there, I encourage you to just understand that you are beautiful, you are worthy, you are worth hearing those compliments. And I hope that we can all continue to get to a place where we can speak positively to ourselves, because that out of this episode was a really big thing for me, Rebecca. Even hearing positive things from my spouse, I wasn't hearing back when we started this podcast, and now I am. And that has changed me in a very positive way.
Yeah. I mean, it's so important to let the good in. And,
it's so hard. It's so hard, listeners. It's hard to let the good in, but the bad just creeps its little ucky self in there.
Yeah. I mean, that's why with the, in body kindness, in framing it with the 3 pillars, and also this concept of spiraling up, of this idea that good and bad emotions are all good, and we get more into that later, but it's this idea of that connecting to your worthiness and letting the good in, acknowledging what is good and what's, yes, that's possible and doable and is worth doing, but also in the context and just responding to what you're bringing in. And where I hope there's been a shift in you is that when this person, this bigot, said this hateful comment to you, they were using fat in a negative way,
yes,
which is what's pervasive in our culture.
Yes.
And that is the crap that needs to change. That, or it's the weapon, the reason why you need the armor. And we know you are not alone in that. We know that it is pervasive. It still, to me, in this day, seems culturally acceptable and appropriate to see fat, body fat, and fat people as bad. And that's my curiosity for you. Is how has that
glad you brought
shifted?
That up. Yes.
Do you blame the culture now? Like, do you blame the culture versus self-blame?
You know what? Yeah, I blame the culture. Absolutely. But what I love about it is that I feel empowered as part of this community and working with you. I feel more in control, working in whatever small little way to change that culture. So yes, I blame the culture, but I also am happy that I'm serving in my own little way as an agent of change. Another thing is, I've taken that away from the bigots, the people who are using this in a negative way. Like, hope you get fat again. What does that mean? Like, my whole life, I was at a larger size, and I have had a amazing life, a great life. So when he says, hope you get fat again, like the F word, like F yourself, like, hey, fat's not a bad word. And this is,
and it's your natural you. Like, it's your natural
identify you. Even no matter what size my body chooses to be at, like, I am in my mind and will always be a fat person. And like, I say that differently than I would have during this episode.
Oh, for sure.
Like back then it would have been like, oh, I'm always going to be a fat person. Like,
shame. Very, very shame heavy.
Absolutely. And now it's like, okay, listen, I'm going to be a fat person. Does that carry sometimes conversations that maybe I need to talk myself through? Sure. Still to this day. But when I say that, it's not just completely covered in negativity. That's who I am. It's almost like saying, why don't you just go be a brown person? Well, I'm a freaking brown person. Like, it is what I am. It's part of what's helped to develop my personality, my character, the relationships in my life. So that's changed, and it's taken work. I just keep saying that. I always want to say that because if you're listening to this for the first time, it has taken work, but it has been so good for me.
And I'm all for self-reflection and self-improvement and that kind of thing. But I will add there's extra emotional labor that you have to do when you're in a larger body that you shouldn't have to do. And that's why we have to work so hard to change a culture and just make choices from a place of love and controlling the actions we can control and trying to build resilience to this mean, hateful culture. I want to ask you a question. I'm going to quote you. You said something in the podcast. You said, well, there comes a time when you need to figure out what health means to you. So I'm really curious about if you have any thoughts or reflections on what you actually talked about in that first episode and any thoughts on what it's meaning to you these days.
Well, let me just start with what it means to me these days. For me, being healthy is, I define it, I choose to define it by my relationships. I really do. And when I say relationships, it's not just to others, but my relationship to myself. At the beginning of this episode, I had just become a new father. I mean, brand spanking new.
Like a 1 day old.
Like a 1 day old. I mean, the fact that we recorded it now, I'm looking back like, man, was I crazy? We were crazy trying to start this. Through being a parent, I have had the pleasure of knowing what it's like to be kinder, to be more understanding and accepting, and know that you can't plan things and that life is twisty. And through that, the relationship with myself, because one time we had talked about, would you say that to somebody else? Would you say something negative to somebody else? Why is it that we say it to ourselves? So I really worked with that and took that to heart. And my relationships have changed so much so because I was so negative to myself. And as a result, I was seeing some of that negativity creep into other aspects of my life, whether it be work life, relationship wise. I mean, the way I engaged in even my informal activities. I mean, even the way I looked at television, I was like, oh, that's negative. You know, like I would just find negativity. And since I've been able to kind of really work on changing my relationships to reflect the kindness and the positivity that I want in my life, it has had a really good impact. Does that make sense? I mean, for me,
1,000% makes sense.
The relationships. And I guess what I never realized was how much work it was to, and continues to be, to check in with yourself the same way that you would your child or your mate or your pet or anything. I mean, really, like you have to check in with yourself. Hey, why are you being a grumpy pants today? Like, why is this happening? Why are you speaking negatively to yourself? Or why are you speaking negatively to somebody else? Where are you at that's making this happen?
And I would add to that with curiosity and compassion. Like, it's okay to be there, but let's be curious about what else is happening. You know, this is what's happening that's bothering me, and it's okay to be here, but I wonder what's behind that. I wonder what else is going on, so that it's not just this critic, like, what's wrong with you? You're screwing up again. But it's this compassionate caregiver. That is what body kindness, the practice, evokes. And the spiral ups are meant to evoke, I have preferences. I'm going to look at the optimistic side of things. I'm going to make my life about more than just the space I take up. And we need a compassionate caregiver.
I needed to hear that. I think that's what has been so wonderful is I am more than the space that my physical body takes up in this world, because it is driven into us that success and happiness has a look. It has a look. It doesn't have a look. And I needed to hear that. I just needed to hear it. And then when I say hear it, it's not just spoken. I needed to internalize that. And that's what has happened. You know, you had asked me a question. I know you might be going here now, and I want to address is, do I love myself? Rebecca, you and your questions. At the time I had paused. I was like, yeah.
I left that all on the original edit because I want listeners to see him squirm.
I totally squirmed, and I threw it back around. I was like, well, let's ask the listeners, knowing damn well no one was going to answer us because it was our first podcast. We don't know if we even had a listener.
Were you like
there.
Deflecting because you had to come up with something to say? Oh my
gosh, I was like Mr. Teflon. I was like, that's going to slide. If I deflect long enough, I don't have to answer.
I'm not going to let myself feel. You're not going to make me cry, Jerry.
You're not going to do it. You're not going to do it. No, at the time, like, yes, I knew I loved myself, but I didn't know what that was. And it's a hard question to ask yourself. Like today, I absolutely love myself. But I want to also say that I don't like some of the decisions that I make. And I said that before. And there's a difference, because before I would have said like, yes, I love myself, but I don't always like myself. Yeah. No, I love myself and I do like myself. I just don't like my decisions sometimes. And here's the deal. I'm okay with saying that. And I'm okay with not liking those decisions, where before I would have beat myself up over those decisions. Yeah. Like I'm now giving those dislikes a place.
Yeah. You're also moving from shame to guilt. So I am bad is shame, and guilt is, I did a bad thing. I did something I'm not happy about. So like, last Wednesday when it was super hot and I had a weeknight dinner and my dinner partner's having wine and I joined her in 2 glasses of wine and I wonder why I'm up all night not sleeping. I regret that decision, but I'm not going to beat myself over it. I'm going to treat myself with kindness the next day, with water, with an easier walk workout, shorter. To be adapting to our body's needs and to recognize our humanness is so, so important. And I definitely feel that concept of self-love will keep evolving as we listen and reflect on these episodes, because I could certainly see it evolve. And that is what it is all about. That is what, when we think of what body kindness is and creating a better life, it is the third pillar is about care, being fully committed to being good to yourself no matter what. But I do want to hit for a second the quite literal discussion we had around vegetables and fruits and being the dietitian and often seen as the food police. And, here's the bottom line. It is not about external control. It's not about somebody else saying, these are the rules to follow. These are the shoulds you follow. There's also nothing wrong with saying, hey, I care deeply about eating more, putting more color on the plate, about eating in healthier ways. And many people who come to body kindness come from chronic diet culture, don't know what that is. And it needs to be broken down and reframed. But I had to have a chuckle knowing that you're at that time, right? A brand new dad, and knowing what that is like. And you're like, yeah, maybe I need to go to the farmer's market or eat more organic food. And then you're like, or maybe canned food. And I just loved it because and again, it's no judgment on any of those. But to me, what I picked up on, and I'd love to get your input too on what you were thinking and where you're at now. But what I picked up on was somebody who was shooting on themselves. I read in this health magazine that organic is the best thing to do. And if I want to be healthy and perform health and I want the best thing, I have to say organic. Or I love the idea of farmers markets, but is it going to bring you joy? Are you going to enjoy the experience of a farmer's market with your newborn and that would enhance your life? Great. That's a personal choice and preference. But I sensed a lot of shoulding on yourself around food. And I want to know kind of your comparison of where you were and where you are now, and thoughts for please be real, not performing for Rebecca, but be real.
No, here's the deal. I definitely was shoulding on myself. And I love that, by the way, but because it's informed by what we're hearing, what's out there, what we think we should be doing. And I was going to be a new dad. I wanted to be able to, try to incorporate the best of everything into my life so that I could be ready for this. And the truth is, you're never going to be ready for a life-changing event like that. I was, and still am happy to get a meal in sometimes, where it comes from. I mean, it could literally peel off the bottom of my shoe. If it tastes good some days, I'm going to eat it. So that is completely changed. My thing is, if I can make it to a farmer's market, which hasn't been for a long time, I enjoy that. It wasn't like I need to get there. My thing is, I just need to try to get to a grocery store. Or I need to try to put something in my mouth, or I need to try to figure out what this kid's going to eat. Yeah. Because she's not eating any of the should stuff. She's not going to eat any of the things that she should eat. Yeah. That in my mind, I'm going to win a parenting award for getting into my child. It's no. Yeah. At a certain point, if you want chicken tenders, that's what you're going to get because that's what you're willing to eat. Yeah. And I've done my job as a parent because I have fed you.
Yeah. And whether it's for yourself or your child, it's literally truly seeing the benefit of you know what? I have a handful of baby carrots. I'm adding that to the pizza that I
Yes.
ordered. It's like
Yes.
all effort is beneficial and meaningful. And I have to laugh about your grocery store thing because literally yesterday I ended up in the same grocery store twice in one day. I actually meal plan. I tend to not do the shop. I actually do the planning and like the, I'm good at like sort of the structural things. And then I kind of task out my partner to do that. But the second trip to the store, I literally walked in, no list in my hand, and said out loud, why am I here? Like I completely forgot why I even needed to go back.
Oh, yeah. And you know what? Right now, it's so crazy because we went from her being 1 day old to now over 2.5 years old, almost 3.
Yeah.
And man, if you would have asked me back then how it was going to be, like I was going to have this ready and this was going to be our activities and this is how we were going to interact. And after we did something good, we were going to like high five or do the kid and play like dance. Man, I'm dating myself for any of our listeners listening out there. But that's not how it goes. That's not what's going on. Like the should has gone out the door from time to time. That'll pop in my head, man, I really should. But at the same time, I do my best to try and plan when I can, because even that is hard to do sometimes. But I'm just more understanding of where I'm at, and I no longer strive for perfection.
Yeah.
I understand that exists out there in some world, but I don't have the spaceship to get there.
That's a good point. Like meaningful effort, like acknowledging that you care about something. Like I care about eating more fruits and vegetables and shopping from a list and making it easier on myself to have healthy snacks. Like that's great that you care about that.
Yes.
That's great to have it as a goal. But not turning that into perfection, shoulds, and shaming when you don't hit the bullseye. I think that is an important differentiation. And I think with where you were at too, is it's like, there's still that fantasy of being thin. Like, well, if only I follow this farmer's market rule and hit this perfectly balanced plate, then I'll get the rewards of being thinner, right? So it's even just a reframing of, like you said, what is the frame of health? What is it that I care about? Like you really needed to let that evolve.
I mean, come on with the whole shitting on yourself. What you're really wanting, at least what I was wanting, was like that perfect Instagram picture. You know what I mean? Of what life could be. Like people,
right?
Please. We know that's not the case. So I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Thank goodness we have a lot more episodes to go through and cover. And for the sake of time, we do need to wrap up this conversation, but we will be back. But I cannot go without giving you maybe up to a minute to tell me where you're at with your mindset toward The Biggest Loser today. We will talk about it in other shows, but I'm dying to know.
All right. So Biggest Loser is gone. Yes, it is a gone, deceased show.
Bye-bye.
And the truth is, I hope that it doesn't come back. And let me tell you why. I have always been very honest, but it's been sugar-coated with my relationship with The Biggest Loser. I am grateful to The Biggest Loser because that experience afforded me the partner that I have today, and in some crazy way, the beautiful child that I have with my partner.
Now, do people know that briefly, that backstory?
Okay. Maybe not. So on The Biggest Loser, I was paired with a complete stranger. That stranger, her name is Brittany. She was an amazing partner. She's a great friend. And now she is an awesome family member. She's my cousin through marriage. I married her cousin who I met through Brittany, and we have a little girl together. So I am
How can you hate that experience? You can't have anger. You can't.
I would do it a million times over. I would. But it did play a tremendous mind game with me. That was really the first time I was exposed to health. And I say that in quotes, bum, bum, bum. So I'm on this show, I'm being weighed. I'm told that the intensity of my workout always has to be at 1,000%, that my eating has to be so clean that it's worth writing a book about. So when I got off the show, like that level of perfection, and again, I say that, isn't maintainable. So every time I ate something that was outside of what I knew I should be eating for weight loss, or every time I moved my body and it wasn't as intense as I could have moved it, I was failing. And that stuck with me until, gosh, I mean, it still to this day sticks with me, but I have the tools to combat that thinking now. So Am I glad that for my experience? Yes. Am I glad the show is over? Absolutely. Am I glad that I'm part of this podcast to help change the dialogue? You bet your little big beautiful round flat ass I am, because I had a part in instilling that very intense and not realistic culture into our world.
Yeah. And we'll have more time to unpack your feelings around it, because I know we talked about it, because it was actually in 2016, there was still a season. So we'll kind of tease that out. There's more to come.
Yes, but I'm going to hit on this real quick. So Rebecca, you knew not to ask me this question right now.
In 1 minute too. I knew that was a mistake.
Yeah. I was like, oh, maybe they'll call me back up, or maybe this or that. Like, here's the deal. I'm saying it. I know you're going to hold me to it, and I know I'm going to hold myself to it. If I were to get called back up, that's not the type of show I want to be on. Like, that's not who I am anymore.
Well, since we're going there, you did get called to be on something. Remember that? Do you remember what I told you?
I don't want to talk about this right now. I was called for another show. It was another weight loss show. It was supposed to be a kinder type of weight loss show. I ran it by Rebecca. She told me it wasn't kind, and I needed to really reflect on why I was wanting to even be a part of this, and how, if I did choose to be a part of it, which she completely was okay with me making that decision for myself, but we would probably part ways.
Well, that's a nice version. I said, I can't have any part of association with you with Body Kindness if you're going to be on that show, because
yes. Let's put this in perspective for our listeners. This was like literally 3 or 4 months after we started Body Kindness podcast.
Yeah.
So this wasn't like last week.
Yeah.
But this was something that I was like, oh shit, I just reached out to Rebecca and this is really making sense. Why would the devil bring this show into my life at this point? And I came to the conclusion that it was to really see and test me as to where I wanted to take my wellness, my health, my mindset. And I am so happy that I decided to say no. And yes, I needed to say it out loud, and I needed to share it, because it's so tempting to, as with any fad diet, as with anything out there, as with any quick fix, it was so tempting to be like, heck yeah, sign me up. That'd be great.
I'm glad you made that decision too, because from the bottom of my heart, Body Kindness would not be what it is without you. And we need you. We need you here. The reality of it is that Biggest Loser, while it's good for your processing to be grateful that it led to your wife and your daughter and the life you have now, I also think it's good that you don't see it as a great experience anymore, and you'll elaborate more on that. Yes, it was bad for the culture. It was bad for health. But if we really take a look at our current culture, there's a lot of different versions of Biggest Loser out there. It doesn't have to be on TV. It could be in books and articles and in the trainers. The world is still highly messed up, and we have to carve out these places of safety to focus on well-being and body kindness for ourselves.
I couldn't have said it better myself. And that's why I'm so proud to be here, and so honored to know that there are listeners out there that are helping us do that and making changes for themselves in a very kind and positive way.
Well, we'll wrap that up for this first conversation. So much for sticking to our goal of 10-minute reflections. This will be a 30-minute reflection. But for those of you who've listened the whole time, we hope it helped. Please do us a favor by subscribing, leaving a rating and review. Tell your friends about this episode. Share it anywhere you can. And if you have any spare change at all, $5, we really don't care. But we are raising funds for the production costs for Body Kindness. It's at gofundme.com/bodykindness. And we appreciate anything you could do to support us.
Thank you so much. Till next time, guys.
And that's a wrap on today's show. Let's continue the conversation on Facebook. Just search Body Kindness Podcast and click to join. And if you can contribute to the production costs for the 2018 podcast season, visit gofundme.com/bodykindness. We love ratings and reviews. Please do that. And don't forget to let your friends know that Body Kindness is one of your can't miss podcasts. If you have questions, comments, or guest recommendations, shoot me an email, Rebecca@bodykindnessbook.com.